Alfonso's here, the godfather of the game. Many years of wisdom, remember his name. Speakers on stage, they'll drop the keys. Unlock your power and seize the breeze.
You're starting, there's going to be some opportunities where you will need to raise capital, right? And at the very beginning, there's a few options, right? Okay, you could do this. You could do this with other people's money, and which is, at some point, you may need to start there, right? You need to, raise capital, find a deal, and raise capital. You may already have some resources. So sometimes, and we talked about this many times. We talked about OPM, right? Other people's money. OPT, other people's time, right? So if you don't have time for yourself, right? Maybe you're pursuing a career, you're doing this, you want to do real estate, but let's say you're pursuing a career that you love and it's what you want to do, you may need to tap into other people's time. So maybe you have to leverage your money, right? Your capital. But if you have a career, that means you're making capital, and you could leverage that capital in order to make investments into tapping into someone else's time. We also talk about OPC, other people's credit. And the last time we had this meeting, we talked about, you may need to, at the very beginning of your career, let's say, you're in your early 20s, you don't have that experience and you don't have that credit history to maybe get on a mortgage or things like that. So let's talk about some of your first moves, because you could be like, for example, you just heard Talia talk about her and her partners. They're purchasing this 5-unit building, but what they're going to be doing is they're going to be raising the capital in order to be able to do that. Now, if you wanted to be in a situation where, wait a minute, like, okay, so I got to give up a little bit of my equity, and maybe that's not the move for you, you could start a different way. So people talk about house hacking. And house hacking could be a great option for you as you're getting started, right? That's an excellent option for you, okay? But I also want to talk about house hopping, okay? House hopping, and there should probably be another P there. House hopping is the function of utilizing what you have, okay? So I want to talk about the verses. House hacking versus house hopping. Now, this could be some starter strategies. Now, the way I started, I was doing, not only was I doing house hacking, but I also was doing house hopping. And at the same time, I was building my portfolio. And I was raising capital to do multifamily. So I was doing all of the above. Jediah, you have a question?
Yeah, I was actually gonna ask, because I haven't bought a first home, so obviously you can secure the property with 5 down in Ontario and in Quebec, right?
Yeah.
So for house hacking, I was gonna ask, because when you usually underwrite a deal, you're looking for about 5% cash on cash return. But with house hacking, you most likely won't receive those returns because you have such a low down payment, so your mortgage is higher.
Yes.
So at what point, how would you write it up where it would be a good investment? Is it if it breaks even, you're still good because you're building equity, a little bit of cash flow is still good to get started? What are your perspectives on that?
So house hacking, the first thing we need to think about, cost of living, okay? And for example, Jediah, what are you paying for rent?
Right now, actually my rent's lowering, but this month I've been paying $750 plus utilities.
Where the hell do you live?
It's newly built.
But this is your shared amount?
Yeah, I
Okay,
share. I share
okay.
with my brothers. Yeah.
Okay. So, do you plan? Does everybody plan to move into this? Are you going to be doing house hacking with everybody?
No, maybe one or two people, but it would be
Okay.
still shared.
So, because we want to talk about the cost of living, right?
Right.
So, let's say if you and your brother, this is what you're trying to do, right? You're trying to do a house hacking with you and your brother. Is that it?
Yeah, so we would occupy even a triplex, so we would or a duplex. We'll occupy one unit and then the other
Yeah.
unit.
So the cost of living, I'm saying, let's say it's like $1,400, right? So your cost of living is $1,400 of rent, right? So when I look at house hacking, I look at the idea of house hacking is how to get into a deal, right? Let's get into our first deal, and at the same time, reduce the cost of living. Because the idea of reducing the cost of living is so you can accumulate more capital to redeploy into other deals, right? What happens is when when our cost of living is too high, there's no room there for you to accumulate capital in order to make those investments. And so the idea of house hacking is to be able to reduce your cost of living. The closer you get to zero, in my view, the better, right? But again, you said some of these properties are expensive. There's also the idea of you're moving into it. So it really depends on what kind of neighborhood you're gonna want to be in, because you could go into you could go into a neighborhood with a lot of let's say it's an up and coming neighborhood, but it's up and coming means it's not there right now, right? And that means you could take advantage of that upside lift because you're going to be making money on the appreciation. In the meantime, if you get close to the cost of living, like if you're paying $1,400 out of your pocket right now to live, and you get it's really you're breaking even, but you have the access to the property and you only put 5% down, then this to me would be a really good deal, right? As long as you're not getting into a situation where you're out of pocket, right? It's like costing you so much just to live in a house, and you have nothing left over to be able to make other moves with. Okay, so that's what I focus on when I do the house hacking, is the cost of living. Now, house hopping, most people don't talk about house hopping. Okay, so we get a gift right now as Canadians. Okay, the biggest gift that we have as Canadians is that if you sell your personal residence, okay, you get to be exempt from paying capital gains. Okay, so a personal residence is cap gain free, basically tax free. Okay, personal residence. If you live in your personal residence for over a year, you are exempt from paying that capital gains. Okay, so on both of these sides, either the house hacking or the house hopping, and in real estate in general, you make your money on the buy, right? When you buy a piece of real estate, that's when you actually make money. So you make money, you make money on the buy, meaning is the way you negotiate the deal.
We are in Calgary. Yeah! And we are about to make history because for the very first time in Wealth Genius history, we are bringing the Expand Investor Conference right here to Calgary. And we're excited. November 6th, 7th, and 8th. Get your tickets right away because we're going to have over 60 different presenters, over 100 different vendors, over 1,000 different attendees, all at Expand Investor Conference right here in Calgary. There's never been a better time to get involved in real estate than right now. You got to come and learn how to optimize and maximize all the opportunities that are available right now. It's our 10th edition of this massive real estate investor conference, one of the biggest in Canada, and we're making history because we're bringing it to Calgary for the very first time. Get your tickets, be there or be square.
You have to be entering the deal already at a discount. Maybe it's underperforming. You have to learn how to negotiate to drop the price down. Now, this happens to be the same over here when we talk about house hopping. House hopping is this idea that you could get into a deal, renovate that deal. Like, let's say you bought there was a house, 400K was the market value. But because it was, there was some issues with the house, you were able to buy it for 300K, okay? And this house just needed a little bit of TLC. For whatever reason, the house didn't show very well, it didn't sell, and all of a sudden you could pick up that house for $300,000. So basically from the market value, okay, and obviously you want to make sure that you get your comparables. The market value was $400,000 on the market. A fire sale with this property, you could sell it for $400,000. You buy it for $300,000, okay? And because you're doing house hopping, we're going back to we're going to go back to this scenario here. That is your personal residence, so you could do 5%, right? Now, you are going to pay a CMHC fee, but at the end of the day, I'm okay with paying the fee because I'm in the deal, okay? And so you could get in a situation where now you have 400, you bought a property that's worth 400K because you learned how to negotiate. I mean, obviously, this is a big part of what we're teaching our students here on how to negotiate. So you get in a position where, oh, wait a minute, you're now moving into the deal and you're putting in that sweat equity, right? You're going to paint it. You're going to make everything look beautiful. You're going to stage it. You're going to do all of the things that you have to do for, to make it beautiful. Now, a year later, okay, I'm going to preface this with, don't see this as a scalable strategy, okay? You want to be very careful how you do this house hopping strategy because you don't want to be tagged as a commercial, like you're doing this commercially, okay? So CRA obviously will want you to be exempt, but you can't do this like 30 deals in a row, be cap gains exempt. I'm talking about getting started. I'm talking about your first couple of deals to raise that capital, okay? So a year goes by, you sell the property and you sell it for $400,000, right? You paid $300,000, right? You paid $300,000. Now you made $100,000. Of course, I'm not talking about let's not complicate this scenario with land transfer tax and all that. I'm just thinking about the profit. You've made $100K profit tax free, okay? And this is a big strategy that I used at the very beginning to build capital. Now, here's the best thing about either house hacking or house hopping, okay? You make your money on the buy. You make your money on the buy. And this means that you'll have to find motivated sellers. A big key to this is finding motivated sellers. And so you never want to be a motivated seller because if you're a motivated seller, you will have to take a loss, right? I mean, you need to sell it quickly. You have to reduce the price to sell that deal quickly. And so the best thing about house hopping, when you're thinking about house hopping, it should never it should never be a property that you have to sell to make money. What I love about the house hopping strategy is that you have to live somewhere. And so when you're thinking about house hopping, it should be a property that you don't have to sell. Okay? Because when you put this on the market, you can sit on the market. You know, it could be there for 30 days. You know, it could be there for 60 days. You are not going to be negotiable, and you're not dying to sell this property. So when you are in a position where you don't have to sell, you're actually in the best position. When people flip properties, well, they're paying high interest, and you only have about 3 months. And if that property doesn't sell, every month is costing you money. In this case, you don't have to sell. And so you can get your price whenever you want. And so that's a big point about house hopping. Okay? So now you have 100%, now you have 100K. Okay? You go look at you buy another property that is worth 400,000. Let's say now you have 100K. Boom, you put 100K down. Now you buy it for 300K. You put 100K down. Okay, I'm simplifying a lot of these numbers just to give you the concept. Okay, so now you put a 300. You bought a 300K. It's worth 400. You put 100K down. So that means you owe 200,000. You do the same, sweat equity, and you sell the property again for 400K. Okay, you get your original 100K back in your pocket, plus you made another 100K. So now you have 200K. Every time you do this, you're getting stronger. Okay, you're getting stronger. And it doesn't have to be exactly on the year. You have the luxury to wait a year and a half. But the idea is to become liquid so you can raise the capital. And by the way, you have to live there anyways. Like, you always need a place to live. And so this can be a strategy that you can do. Now, I want to make sure I warn you, if you do this too much, right, it can become tagged by the CRA as you have a commercial enterprise. So you want to make sure that you use this strategy. I'm sure, like, you could do it maybe 3 or 4 times. Of course, consult with your accountant, make sure everything is done right. But as long as it is your personal residence and you're following all the rules, you could be in a position where you can accumulate this type of money in a very short amount of time. Let's say a 5-year period, you can accumulate capital to make big moves. So the other thing is, in which you're going to love. So we have the house hacking versus the house hopping, right? So the house hacking means that you buy a house or a property where you have, either friends or tenants that are helping you pay down that mortgage. You could actually combine house hacking and house hopping, right? If you are in a position where, let's say, you don't have a family, you could sacrifice, a bit of lifestyle at the very beginning to get in the game, because everybody can say whatever they want from the bleachers, right? But they're just spectators. You have to figure out any way possible for you to get into the game. And if you have to do house hacking and house hopping and raise capital, whatever it is that you want to do, you are in that position. You will be in that position to do that and get ahead quickly. One question.
Yes.
What the hell is this?
This is running away with your water bill. You want me to sign a check for $3 million?
Before this, I was gonna buy this building.
No toilets. No toilets. Not one. Is there any toilets on this whole property? The 500K is not a problem. There's only one thing. There's significant capital expenditures. Do you guys have a capital expenditure plan somewhere?